Sabaha everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do a comparison for you guys between the brand new Galaxy S10 Plus and the Mate 20 Pro. Both of these devices have been known for being the best that both companies have to offer between Samsung and between Huawei. But you'll be surprised to know that they have a lot of things in common and of course some unique characteristics that may put you from one side over to the other. Let's go ahead and compare them. This is TK and let's check it out. We're going to start off by looking at the back. Of course, the first thing that'll stand out to you guys, both of these devices are supporting triple cameras on the back. Galaxy S devices now support triple cameras on the S10 and the S10 Plus. The S10e only supports dual cameras, but again, the standard models, the S10 and the S10 Plus, both will support the same camera array in the back. And the Mate 20 Pro does support similar setup as far as the Mate 20 Pro, the Mate 20X, but then they did change the camera setup, although to the Mate 20, the standard Mate 20. So just keep in mind, triple camera setups on all of the Mate 20 line of devices. Just when they went over to the Mate 20 Pro, they definitely gave us the best that they had to offer. Now on the Mate 20 Pro, we have a 40 megapixel wide-angle lens, a 20 megapixel ultra-wide lens, and an 8 megapixel telephoto lens. So those are the three arrays that we have here, and of course with a dual-tone LED flash. Now the triple camera setups that we have here is kind of similar again. We have a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, we have a 12 megapixel wide-angle lens, and of course a 16 megapixel ultra-wide-angle lens here. Now what that means essentially is that we do have higher megapixel count here with cameras that are Leica certified, and we don't have any certifications, but I can tell you right now from using both of these devices that they both can provide really good images. Just keep in mind that when we're looking at just pure megapixel numbers, the Mate 20 Pro still technically has a much higher megapixel count camera, and it still performs really well. Moving on from the camera, as far as the bottom back, both support wireless charging and actually both support reverse wireless charging. And what that means essentially is that we're able to use both of these devices internal batteries. Now this one's supporting a 4200 milliamp battery and this one's supporting a 4100 milliamp battery to be able to charge other devices that are Qi supporting capabilities. Now, one of the things that we've done in the show essentially is they were using the S10 Plus to charge the little the new Galaxy Buds that they included, and you're able to put it on the back and charge it. And ideally, it'll work the exact same way here. So both support that technology, and that's something that's very unique, I think, if you think about it. For the best of devices that they both have similar technology when it comes to that. When we look on the front side, you'll notice that visually the S10 Plus is a little bit physically bigger than what we have here on the Mate 20 Pro. Now, that does attribute to the fact that we have a 6.4-inch display here, Quad HD with dual front-facing cameras, and essentially is almost eliminating all bezels. We do not have the notch here. And what we do have here with the Mate 20 Pro is something very similar, but this is a 6.39-inch display, and we do have a massive notch that's sitting on the top, but we have a very functional notch because we not only have the front-facing camera, a single one, we have the secondary stereo speaker, which is also mirrored over here. We do have stereo speakers using the same technology, mids and highs in the top earpiece, and then the lows on the bottom firing speaker. But we also have a 3D front-facing sensor that is much more secure as far as face unlocking, where the S10 uses the front-facing cameras to unlock our face if we're using face unlock. Here with the Mate 20 Pro, we're using a 3D sensor that actually takes a mapping of your face, and it's a lot more secure and could be used for payments. But other than that, we're looking at both Quad HD, both AMOLED technology, both very rich, and again, both supporting that nice little, I would say just like the tapering edges on both sides. You can see them both on the front, on the back. The glass on the back kind of tapers to the left, here down in, and they both have, and they're both basically symmetrical on the front, on the back. You want to keep in mind essentially is that the reason why the S10 Plus is a little bit bigger is we do have slightly bigger display. Both look great, and one of the other characteristics that I would definitely want to mention to you guys is that the S10 Plus allows us to natively put videos on our lock screen, and that's how I was able to get the Ultra Instinct Goku here. And every single device from Samsung for the last year or so that I've been able to do this is like literally the first thing I do, and I cannot say one more thing but the fact that it just matches the whole white Ultra Instinct here with the white back here. And of course, both of these devices come in multiple colors. Now, both of them have an in-display fingerprint sensor, and both of them have them in a slightly different place. You'll notice right there, this is slightly higher, this is slightly lower. So if you're comparing this to the other ones that we've seen on the market before, as far as OnePlus's positioning is also kind of similar to the way we have it here. One of the things that we have here that is slightly different is the fact that this fingerprint sensor is ultrasonic, as opposed to just turning on a light and trying to read your finger. And what that means essentially is that you'll have a better chance of using the fingerprint sensor even if your hands are dirty, or if not necessarily just that, even if they're wet, as that will generally create some issues here because of the glass. But both of them have very nice technologies. You can unlock it, as you saw it, unlock the device, and it works really good. They're not as fast as the standard fingerprint sensors that we've seen before. Just know that right out of the box. but it is something that you can use and you can definitely enjoy. And you can of course use them to authenticate for payments and stuff like that. It works the same way. They're very secure, and they're definitely going to be a lot better considering both right now. They'll be a lot better from when using other method of authentication. We can't use Face Unlock yet. This is something that's coming to the Mate 20 Pro. And then of course the S10 Plus will not have that since it's using just front-facing cameras. But other than that, I think when we look at the actual display, we can look at it. Let's Face Unlock very nicely here. And we're at this point greeted with the displays. So as I mentioned to you guys, both of them are running Quad HD displays. Here's a quick sample of an image that's online. It's on wallpapershome.com and just called the Wallpaper Convict Lake Autumn. And just the reason why I want to show this to you guys is to show you that you're going to be getting very similar experience as far as the image quality on these displays. Both of these are bringing the same image right now, and you can see the color temperature. And I have both displays, by the way, running at 100%, so that there's no issues as far as one being dim, one not being as dim. And you can see basically the color temperatures, the representation between the two, just very, very nice. And again, we are looking at the same image off of the same site. So if you Google it, and you can actually see it yourself, it's definitely a very, very nice image, and it will look really nice on this display. The specifications difference between these two devices, that we're running the Kirin 980 with 6 128 gigs of internal storage and RAM, and here we're running the brand new Snapdragon 855. This model has 8 gigs of RAM, 128 internal storage, and it can go all the way to 12 gigs of RAM with basically 1 terabyte of storage if you go with the ceramic model. This model does also have an 8 gig version with 256, and this one also has supported SD card, a nano memory supported in here on the bottom SIM tray to be able to expand the storage here, but it is proprietary memory. Here it does support an SD card that's built in at the top, and you're able to expand it up to 512 gigs. So keep in mind, both have expandable storage, although proprietary here. This one is more of your standard configuration. Other than that, as far as just the overall UI, they're running both Android 9.0. This is EMUI 9.0 compared to the brand new One UI 1.1. Slightly higher version than what we've seen with the with One UI on the Note 9 as well as the S9 and S9 Plus. So there's some features here that are not necessarily present in the current version of basically One UI that everybody else has. And we'll see some of those features in the cameras. As I mentioned to you guys, overall, the experience that you're getting here is very similar. The battery again here is 4100 milliamp battery. This one is a 4200 milliamp battery, and we are going to get faster charging on this, as this is compatible with the 40-watt charger that Huawei includes in the box. Here we do have adaptive, basically their new quick charge technology 2.0, but it is still at best 15 watts. So you're not going to be receiving the same speed in charging connection here. But as far as wireless charging, both support fast wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. So again, a lot of similarities right now between these two devices. Both have an app drawer. This one is more of a sliding option. You just scroll through, and yes, I do have a lot of applications. And of course, you could just basically install and customize your system. I personally like to use Nova Prime. I'm not using them currently on this device yet, as I just want to be able to experience the entire system. And this is actually pretty fast. We do have swipe gesture functionality. Here we don't. The swipe gesture automatically takes us into the search, and there's no way to customize it to be able to swipe down or bring down the notification shade. You can add that as a button at the bottom if you have the actual navigation buttons showing, but as far as actual functionalities, I think here the UI, the built-in UI, natively supports longer form factor. Now, One UI was entirely built around making everything one-handed. So what you get here essentially is the experience. Now, both have really good sound as far as representation from, like I say, the earpiece here, or even with the USB-C dongle that we get in the box, but even with the stereo speakers. Bring down the notification panel, you turn on the functionality, and then you switch it over and you put it down, and then at this point, you just put your phone on it. And you can see that little lightning right there, and it started to charge the device right away. And this would work the exact same way if I went in here. The only difference is to be able to do it on this device, you actually have to go in there, you go into the battery section, go down, and it says wireless reverse charging. You turn that on, and then now your device is actually ready to be able to charge. On this side, what you definitely want to do is disable the one from the other and then just put it on the other device. And as you see right there, both are functional, both are very nice, and they work very simply, very easily. I just find that it's a little bit easier to get to from this option, as you're able to basically just find the notification option right away. And here you have to go through for it. Both will disable this functionality if the battery gets too low, or if the function is not used in enough time. So just if you just turn it on and you forget to turn it off, it automatically does turn itself off. So the next thing obviously we want to know is, do we know for sure which one is definitely a better processor? And I generally usually say benchmarks are not going to be the number one way of saying this is better or not. The reason I say that is because for the most part, your usage is going to be dependent on what you use, what applications you have, if you game a lot, if you're using everything on it, if you're running GPS all the time. So for the most part, the way I at least like to compare two different devices is I like to go into Google Photos. So both of these devices have Google Photos installed. What I've done is I've recorded a 1-minute 4K video on both of these devices. I'm holding them handheld at the same time and going in circles doing a lot of motion. And the reason why I wanted to do this is I wanted to be able to go in here and basically be able to run the stabilized functionality. And we're going to go ahead and see if the Snapdragon 855 beats the Kirin 980 in processing a 1-minute 4K 30 frames per second footage running motion-wise. So we're going to try to stabilize this and see which one goes faster. So let's go ahead and start it right now and see which one first. Well, let's go ahead and start it off. I honestly have to say that I didn't think that the comparison, or at least the gap, was going to be that big. Now, I knew the 845 did definitely beat the Kirin 980 at this test when I've done them in the past, but the 855 just literally it's like way more than a minute even on the processing time, just going straight again. 4K 30 frames per second stabilized footage on both of these devices is just definitely a lot of horsepower, a lot of cool things going on here with the new technology with the 855. As far as photography, I'm sure we need to do a full video comparing images and video quality from both different sensors, the front and the back one on both of these devices. But while I was in San Francisco, I had the opportunity to just go ahead and snap a real quick night shot image when we were walking. It was literally midnight in Chinatown. And I wanted to just show you guys real quick kind of just the color representation that we have here. Obviously there's that one. This is using obviously the Mate 20 Pro right there, and you can see the color, and of course it does this the magic that it does to be able to bring in more light with an extended exposure. And then what we have here with the night shot is essentially just a snap with an HDR functionality, what we have on the brand new S10 Plus. You can see here obviously it's a little bit darker, it's still a little bit brighter than what we get here, and I'm going to show you guys of course these images right on top of the screen right now. Overall, I think the detail between the two is still very, very good. I still think that the Mate 20 Pro did a little bit better as far as bringing in more light, where basically we have an HDR plus technology here with the images on the S10 Plus. Obviously, we'll see a little bit more with video and of course comparison between the two. Cameras that we have here this is a 24 megapixel sensor, and here we have two cameras, the 10 and an 8 megapixel sensor. And then this is just a quick example. Again, I just took the same picture on both of these devices using the front-facing sensors, and I can definitely see the little bit better color representation here on the S10 Plus. It's something that we've seen before with Huawei devices, is for some reason they generally have a beauty mode even if you turned off beauty mode, and of course colors generally tend to be a little bit washed, but overall a lot better than what we've seen in the past. So keep it here. We'll definitely have a full video comparing both the images and the video quality processing. Well, just what you can expect as far as quality of images and video, of course. For a quick audio demo between the two of them, we're going to be comparing the basically stereo speakers on both of these devices. We're going to play Alex Scrindo Jumbo from NCS Release. I have both volumes at 100% sitting in on both devices, and we're going to play at 55 seconds, and I think that's right about where the drop happens on this song, and it just sounds really, really good. So we'll start off with the Mate 20 Pro. So definitely very, very nice. And the one thing you also want to keep in mind is we do have Dolby Atmos sound on there, and it is turned on. So you're definitely going to be getting the best experience on this using the Dolby configuration that we have here. Switching over to the S10 Plus, let's go ahead and unlock it. And the S10 also has the same configuration. So we're going to go in and make sure we have Dolby Atmos turned on, and we're going to go ahead and play the song. Again, about 55 seconds, 56 seconds to get right at the point of that drop. So overall, I think you could definitely hear it yourself. You don't need my own perspective on this. The sound on the S10 Plus is definitely a lot louder, and the quality of the sound is actually really, really good. You're going to get really good experience again, regardless of which one you go with. But it sounds like for just sheer loud volume, definitely the S10 Plus looks to be definitely a really big contender and a much big upgrade from what we saw last year on both of these devices. Both of these devices are going to have a lot of things in common. So if you're considering one or the other, you're going to have a hard time deciding which one will be the better one for you. Now, depending on what you're looking at as far as specific aesthetics, the things that are in common are very clear. The design is very similar. Obviously the functionalities are very similar, although we only have one camera on the Mate 20 Pro. The other camera essentially is a 3D sensor for face unlock. And on the S10 Plus, we have dual cameras to be able to give you better bokeh effect. And of course, we're both running Android 9.0. RAM, and as far as functionality, both have different options, although you can go all the way to 12 gigs of RAM with 1 terabyte of internal storage on the S10 with that $1,500 model that has a ceramic back. But as far as the Mate 20 Pro, I think the highest is 8256. You can expand storage on both of these with the nano memory on the Mate 20 Pro and with the standard SD card on the S10 Plus. So those things you want to keep in mind as far as when you consider the two. Functionality, they both are very much one-handed devices, both have big displays. We have the notch on the Mate 20 Pro, although we definitely have the new norm, I would say, is basically the punch hole camera. And I think Huawei is going to be moving to that with their next iteration of devices. Just currently right now, again, this is the Mate 20 Pro from 2018. You just want to keep that in mind. Price point and availability, I think at this point, if you want to pick up the Mate 20 Pro, it's going to be a little bit cheaper than the S10 Plus, even though at initial release, they both launched at about $1,000 or so. So that's something you want to keep in mind as well. As far as just basically sheer speed and performance, I think at this point, the Snapdragon 855 being the new kid on the block is definitely going to win some awards there. But as far as just basically, let's say, recharging even the batteries that we have here, the Huawei has a 4200 milliamp battery with a smaller form factor, but it also charges a lot faster with a 40-watt charger compared to the 15-watt charger that we get with the S10 Plus. So from a day-to-day activity, I think you can go back to 100% and have a lot more juice life on your device with the Mate 20 Pro. The S10 is not necessarily a slouch, it just takes a little bit longer to get you there. Camera performance, we'll focus on that in the full video for both video and obviously camera stills, just to do a full comparison between these two, because I just don't feel like a quick couple images here and there will actually do it justice, and I'm sure you guys would appreciate that a little bit more. Audio performance, as you heard, as far as just headphone experience, I think they're very similar as far as the audio. They both have Dolby Atmos on them as far as just audio tuning, but just from the sheer audio sound on the device, you just definitely heard that. The S10 Plus is definitely a lot louder as far as sound, and it actually sounds pretty good just from just being able to hold it in your hand and play games with it. And of course, that's going to be not an issue for either one of these. The 980 is a champ as far as gaming, as well as the Snapdragon 855. And as far as I understand that if you pre-order the S10 at this point, there's going to be free buds, and on March 8th, there's going to be a special skin available for Fortnite players, again, the same way they did it with the Note 9. We're just definitely going to see a lot more options coming up. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of this comparison? What do you consider as far as your next phone? Are you looking at a Huawei device for the Mate 20 Pro, or you're waiting for the P30 Pro, or are you considering getting the S10 Plus? I think the S10 Plus, of all of the devices that were announced, is going to be the champ of them. The S10 is kind of like just that sweet spot, and then the S10e is just an entry level into the S10 line of devices, as it does have a little bit less specs, but still enough to kind of give you some of the basically hints of what the new technology that they brought in 2019. Like and subscribe as usual. Share this video with any of your friends if you think this would help them. Thank you very much for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.